Shout out to everybody in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody. I'm here. Sorry, y'all. I'm a little bit late. I had to set everything up for Baby Bunny and whatnot. Shout out to everybody. Okay, hold up. Now my desk is up, so I need to make sure. And I'm looking up here because my screen's here, but my camera's here. So let's make sure that I'm looking at the right area. Welcome, everybody. I'm letting the people come in here. I'm a little late. Happy holidays, everybody. They are approaching. Baby Bunny is building a gingerbread house right now as we speak. It's an Oreo gingerbread house. So she's all here for it. Hold up. Somebody asked a question. I thought it was a very interesting question. Somebody said, was it Shelly who asked about Upchurch? Hey, before the video starts, did y'all read the post about Ryan Upchurch video Deep Depot? Yeah, I did. I don't know who this guy is. Can I get a quick update? Yes, Shelly. Yes, you can. And I'm actually working on a video on that, okay? Man, to give you a quick little update, quick little rundown. Where do I? Hold up. Let me think about this. So, Ryan Upchurch is I would say a lot of his famous from YouTube because he kind of started there with this music, right? He I don't know, he got into the true crime community. I guess that's the basis off of it. So the core of there's a lawsuit out there. There was a young girl by the name of Kylie Rodney who basically died. Okay, she attended this party. She her car was found submerged in like a little reservoir area, and as you do in many true crime cases, you have you have many people on YouTube that find interest in a case. They thought she was missing for quite some time, and then once they were able to get a dive team, and it was actually a YouTube dive team by the name of Adventures with Purpose, AWP, they were able to locate her body, which was found in the bottom of this like lake reservoir. I think it was Prosser Lake. I think that's, if I remember correctly. And it's been a while. I want to say it was like 2 years ago, guys. Refresh my memory. It's been a while, right? So Ryan Upchurch is somebody who is like a music singer, right? Country rap, to be more specific. He comes over to the true crime community. He starts seeing this case. He gets interested in it, and basically kind of puts himself in this position where he's there to help the family. Initially, when she was missing, he was willing to offer money for, you know, to find information and find her. I think it was initially $100,000, and then he donates when her body was found in this car. He donated his Hellcat. That's what he did. And so he inserts himself in this story. Now, initially, he starts talking about this whole Kylie Rodney case in the way in which he was really concerned. He really wanted to bring some awareness. And then I want to say it was like 6 days later, he starts talking about how Kylie Rodney is not real. He goes from, being really concerned, offering prayers when her body was found, to suddenly Kylie Rodney is not real. That's what he did. Okay. Yeah. I mean, how do you advocate for, at the time, was a missing child, and then you go from, she's found, she's gone, and then you go from that to like she's not real. So he did this for several weeks, several months, where he started this campaign of Kylie Rodney was not real. Her GoFundMe was a fraud. The family is a scam. He starts doing all of this crap. And so the Rodney family essentially decide to sue him. Okay. So the core of the lawsuit against Ryan Upchurch is about the death and disappearance of Kylie Rodney, and her family, in particular, her father. her grandfather, they filed the lawsuit against him. They alleged that Ryan made false and defamatory statements about the family and claiming that, they weren't real. Okay. And that the disappearance was a scam, a complete setup. There were creators that were targeted and harassed. Ryan Upchurch has a very dedicated following. So, I mean, and you'll see them anytime I talk about the Upchurch situation. You always got these trolls in here that are like on 10, on steroids, on crack. Okay, I said it. That's what they are. I'm sorry. Y'all can be fans, whatever, but they start attacking you for no freaking reason. You got people that'll do the most. Okay. So in that lawsuit, I mean, it's been months, years at this point of this lawsuit. And there's been some back and forth. Like, I know that this year, Ryan Upchurch's attorney is like, she doesn't want to represent him anymore. She didn't want to represent him. She wants out. She got out. So he gets deposed. And he got deposed earlier in the year. And Ryan Upchurch thought it would be funny to upload that deposition, that 4.5 hour deposition. So he uploads this deposition on his main YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is well over a million. Okay, a million subscribers. And he thought it would be funny. So what did the Rodney's attorney do? They filed this motion to basically like hold him in some level of contempt. Like, here's the deal, man. This guy has never respected any court order. He doesn't give a shit. If there's one thing that we have learned about Ryan Upchurch is that he just does not give a shit about who and what court orders, he just does what he wants. Okay. And at the same time, it's because, he has the money. That's what he does. Right. So the plaintiffs filed a motion for contempt for violation of a protective order and other relief. That's what they filed. I have the court documents, so we're going to talk about that. And the plaintiff said in the very first paragraph, which I posted on my community wall, is plaintiff regretfully filed the instant motion based on defendant's conduct in posting his entire videotape deposition to YouTube in violation of an existing protective order. In this case, separately attacking the integrity of the court. Attacking the court, I mean, literally, you're undermining the court orders. And also, I mean, his conduct was outrageous. Now, in that deposition, I will say that I definitely learned something that he said. Hold up. Just dropped my water bottle. And I think it's important for people to understand. And I quote, because I was talking to a couple people about this 4-hour video, his deposition. And he says something that stood out to me about that whole 4 hours. Let's see. What did he say? When he was asked about proof about how he knew that the Kylie Rodney did not exist, what proof did he have? And he says, and I quote, excuse me, and what is proof in the YouTube world? What is proof in the YouTube world? Kind of still acting like they're not real, even though he's met them, even though it sounds like they've been in the same room, still acting like they're not real. And that is just the, the arrogance that this man has hold. But, he's allowed to get away with shit. I don't know. Call it what you will. So that is the sweet and short. And hopefully, I think that that is enough to kind of show the court that this man does not give a shit about rules. He doesn't care about anything. So who's going to hold him accountable to anything? That is the question. That is the question, my friends. Okay. So let's get started. So Shelly, thank you for asking. That is what's going on. And I'll probably be doing a shorter video, even further explaining just how deep that situation went with Kylie Rodney and Ryan Upchurch. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Hit that like button. Let me pick up my water bottle, y'all. Hold up. Oh, my goodness. He said, trying to brighten the talk a bit. Looking at, thank you so much, Aduko. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I don't want to drop my water bottle. Thank you. Yes, what is your like number? Thank you. Ronan has been a member for 20 months. Almost 2 years. I feel like it's been longer, Ronan. I feel like it's been longer. Thank you, Ronan. Yes, over 2 years. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Let's get into this situationship. Let's talk about Emmanuel Haro real quick, right? I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the recent mugshot with Jay Caro, he looks like the man looks like he's not eating. Okay. Which is fine. I don't give a shit if he eats or if he doesn't eat, quite honestly. We the people don't care. Okay, we don't care. Hold up. I'm gonna see if I can pull it real quick before yeah, he looks it always takes me back to TMZ because they're the only ones that posted it. Uh Look at this. He looks a lot thinner in the face. He looks like he hasn't even eaten, which is fine. I mean, who gives a ish if he hasn't eaten or not? We don't care. We the people don't care. At least I don't. I'll speak for myself. This person, me, I don't care. I don't care if he doesn't eat. I don't care if he starves. I don't care. Now, Amit Belloso posted something on his Facebook group on the tira. And look at this. Jay Caro's mother, Sylvia, seen well, I don't think that's the mother's name. I think her name was Janet, but maybe that's the sister. But it says right here, Jay Caro's mother, Sylvia, seen tearing down Emmanuel's memorial the day before Thanksgiving on the tira. You guys remember the people that, the community members that got together and they were putting out like little memorials and stuff like that? Um, the Jay Caro's family, I guess they're tearing it down. I mean, they're trying to move in people to the house. Like, hopefully, I don't get flagged for music. It should give you an idea. Y'all, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. You said, I hope you don't eat. Well, there you go. There you go. There. That's how yeah, there you go. Brandy says, hold up, Brandy, hold up. I like that Ryan doesn't give a shit. Okay, wish I had money in my life. Shit been through a current been on currently going through. It seems like he doesn't care his whole life. Southerners seem to not give a shit. Well, I don't think he speaks for all Southerners. And I mean, I guess that's your opinion that, if that's what you care, that he doesn't give a shit, that's fine. But if Kylie Rodney was my daughter and you used her to pump yourself to be a good guy and a good heart and donating all kinds of money to then all of a sudden then say that she's not real, you better believe, I definitely would drag you to court. That's right. That's what I would do. Um, you said, okay, well, Brandy, but you don't speak for all the Southerners. I don't think. As a Southerner, I don't give a shit about certain things, but I don't think you speak for all the Southerners. That's the thing. And he doesn't speak for you. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, why are we letting some guy with money speak for everybody? Okay. Shout out to everybody in the chat. So again, we are here and we're talking about Jay Caro. Okay. So again, he looks like he lost a couple pounds, which is whatever. We don't care. But I'm not surprised at all that now you have this whole situation with the memorial being teared down. And I mean, I guess if it's in their property, they can do that. But hopefully the community will put together something so that they have somewhere to have a place where they can, really memorialize this baby and change a little bit of, I don't know if you could ever really change the narrative, but at least have a place where there's some solitude and maybe somewhere where people can bring flowers and stuff like that. But y'all, as a Latina, I care about everything in that got nothing to do with me. Whew, there you go. Let's see. Hold up. That's right, First Liberties podcast. You tell them. Thank you. Maybe they'll do a little corner in the park. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they will do a little corner in the park. That's what I'm thinking, or something. You could buy like a little stone, and like sometimes you can buy like a little piece of something and allow people to bring their flowers and pay their respects. We can't expect the Haro family to do that, honestly. There's so much, I think, that in between that. So one of the things that I want to tell you guys is I do shout out to Jasmine from Murder by Nature podcast. You guys got to check her out on TikTok. And she's also on YouTube, right? So she got to interview the Rebecca's family. I really want to bring her on at some point, probably schedule something so that we can go live and talk about just, before the hearing for before Rebecca Haro's hearing. That's my goal. She has, developed a relationship with Rebecca's family. And I think, everybody's entitled to what they want to, say and do, and who they want to give a voice to. I really want to talk to Jasmine because I think Jasmine brought a different perspective. Now, it doesn't, in my opinion, change my mind a whole lot about Rebecca Haro and the role that she played in this situation. But I also feel like Rebecca Haro's family, based on, I think her name was Holly, based on what Holly said, it sounds to me that they were also taken by surprise with the ish that Rebecca was doing. That there had been a disconnection between those two, the family and Rebecca. And so Rebecca's family wasn't really aware of a lot. Now, of course, a lot of people are going to take issue with Mary, with mom, and the things that she said and whatnot. It was very telling. One of the things that I wish the question, if I could go back a little bit, if I could go back a little bit, I think one of the questions that I would ask to Jake if I was Mary, can you just tell us where this baby's at? I have a feeling that Rebecca probably doesn't even know where this baby's at, and I'm just being honest. I don't know if she does. Based on how things have been told and everything has been said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. We got to move on from the Ryan Upchurch, y'all. Like, if things are getting distracted, we got to move on, y'all. We're not talking about it anymore. Let's move on, please, because I'm seeing everybody get distracted. Let's stay on topic. If we're talking about Emmanuel Haro, that's what we're talking about, please. And thank you. And that's what we want to know. That's all. We want to know where this baby is at, right? So yeah, I think that's it. All right. Okay, I'm gonna make an executive decision here. Hold up. Brandy, I understand that it sounds like your brother has been going through a lot, and I get it. But once you start taking from the topic, I got to put you love on timeout. So please take a break, and I hope that you take care of yourself. Let's move on. When I say let's move on, y'all, because we're not going to go back and forth on certain things. Like, we are so over church. Yes. And I promise y'all, we will do a video. Yeah. So Brandy, it sounds like I said, it sounds like you're trying to escape life. Your brother just passed away. I'm so sorry for your loss, but going about a conversation and then moving it somewhere else is not the way to do it. Please take care of yourself, and I am truly sorry for your loss. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Vic. Okay, let's move on, guys. Let's move on. Oh, yeah, we want to know where this baby's at. That's it. That's all we want to know, is where this baby is at. That's it. So let's move on from there. I want to talk about Kenneka Jenkins. Okay. Somebody put in my community wall. Shout out to the subby that said to me, "Hey, can you talk about Kenneka Jenkins, please, please, please? Let's get into this. What what is going on now?" I'm a little bit late to this news. Clearly, a lot late. To me, Kenneka Jenkins is that one case. Y'all remember the case of God, what Ali is it Elisa or Elisa Lamb? The woman that died in the Cecil Hotel. Put a one in the chat if you guys remember that situation. The Cecil Hotel, I think it's been closed. I don't know if it's still open, but it is one of those situations where it's like, girl, the woman, um, it's the way it was painted is that she was like in a mental breakdown or some stuff like that, right? And she was going through this hotel. There's footage of her in this hotel, okay? And then she just like disappears out of this footage, and they're looking for this woman all over, and they find her inside of the hotel water tank. Y'all remember that? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, like she was found in a water tank. That's what this one reminds me of. I'm be honest with you. That's what, like, the case of Kenneka, it just reminds me of that. But I don't know if I necessarily believe everything that's been put out there about her. Right. Let's get into this. So there was a lawsuit. There's been so much in between when it comes to this case. All right. So we're gonna get into this right now. And I'm just giving you a brief kind of overview of it. I feel like there's been a lot of great YouTubers out there. I was not a YouTuber when this broke, but I remember um hearing about this case. I think this was like back in 2017, okay? So you have 2017, you have a young girl, 19 years old from Chicago. Her name was Kenneka Jenkins, okay? And the story that's told, hold up, y'all, let me clear my throat. The story that's told is that she is like walking, okay? And there's footage of her walking. She's found dead inside of a walk-in freezer out of a hotel. I think it was at the Crown Plaza, okay? Now the official cause of death was ruled accidental, all right? Her death was attributed to hyperthermia with alcohol and drugs that they said that they found in her system, okay? Being a contributing factor. The case grew basically widespread social media and nationwide international news, okay? Because there was a lot of controversy towards her death, many questions about negligence, foul play, the freezer, these industrial freezers, hell, even the industrial bakery ovens. What was it last year where we covered that case about the woman that walked into a Walmart freezer and she was found dead, excuse me, walked into a Walmart oven and was found dead inside the oven, and she worked there, and it was like a mom and daughter that were working the same shift, and she was found inside the oven. I mean, I don't have to tell you how she would have died, but that's that kind of case. It's those like industrial freezers and ovens and whatnot, right? It's awful. It's awful. But to me, this is kind of like one of those deaths that it's like, did somebody close did somebody put her there? Did she die somewhere else? Did somebody put her there? Did the CTV really capture everything? Like, I don't understand. It's the same with the Kendrick Johnson case, okay? The young kid that was found rolled up in a mat. There's a lot of like, I'm like, I don't know if I believe everything that's been put out there. And, for me, it's like, I don't like to, I like rabbit holes. Don't get me wrong. Health, hence the name of the channel. But um, I really like to, for things to be black and white when it comes to death, especially when it comes to young people, because it's really sad to see young people, like this die and then under these circumstances. Right. So again, there was in 2018, Kenneka's family filed a lawsuit against the hotel, the security, the contractor, a restaurant, everybody that was like in the premise that was part of the leasing. Okay. And they were seeking 50 million. Now, the lawsuit had a settlement in December of 2023, and the total settlement was 10 million. Okay. Now, according to court records that were made public after legal fees and other costs, there was about 6.4 million overall that were shared, among Kenneka Jenkins' relatives. Okay, so 3.7 million went to mom. Now, why this is back in the news is in November, I think it was just recently, I want to say within the last week or so, Kenneka's mom, Teresa Martin, posted on social media claiming that she was tricked into accepting a 2023 settlement. She says that she was pressured and forced to stay silent about certain aspects of her daughter's death, including not being able to talk about the case afterwards. In her post, she says she still doesn't know what truly happened to Kenneka. And she wants access to her daughter's clothes, cell phone, and other personal items from the night that she died. Why she doesn't have access to that, I don't know. Teresa Martin suggested that she might return to court to pursue further action, implying this may not be the end of the story. Okay. So again, you have a coroner that's already made the ruling, not that it can't be disputed. Even though the family has received the settlement, there's many questions that people have. Just the settlement negotiations and whatnot are questionable, and that is what Teresa Martin is bringing to light. And with this new statement, I think that a lot of people are looking into what's up with this. Why did it settle this way? Was Miss Teresa Martin silent by this settlement? This is the article that further highlights that. Okay. The Atlantic Star further says that I've stayed quiet long enough. Kenneka Jenkins' mother makes explosive claims about her mysterious death and 10 million settlement. Over the past 8 years, Kenneka Jenkins' mother has endured tragic death of her daughter, whose lifeless body was found in the hotel walk-in freezer. That ensuing lawsuit and a 10 million settlement that put the family in a national spotlight. Now that the media frenzy has subsided 2 years after the case is settled, Teresa Martin is going public with bold claims about how events unfolded, saying that she was tricked into a settlement and is forced to stay silent about Kenneka. Put a 1 in the chat. How do you feel about this situation? Yes, I would agree. All of these tragedies have been so tough, right? You can shoot me an email, love. I know Ahmad, if they can drop an email, let me know. Information wasn't released immediately because of the investigation. This sent the family reeling. It was an accident, drunk girl accident. Criminal researcher, you think that it's a well, and I mean, you know, I don't know. And I go back and forth on this too, because the way I see it is like, even when a death is accidental, sometimes these officials, the way in which they act towards the family leaves a room for speculation. But how do you feel about the fact that she's coming back 2 years after the settlement to basically say, you said, child, when everything's a conspiracy, I can't. But how do y'all feel? How do you guys feel about her coming out 2 years later and basically saying, like, listen, I was tricked into the settlement? You said nobody's going to stop me from talking or asking for help with regards to something like this. Not if it was my child. You said the girl was heavily intoxicated and walked to the freezer. It really is. It reminds me of the Elisa Lam story, y'all. Okay? Again, you see some footage, you don't see, nobody ever sees her get in this water tank. She's found in a water tank in a sketchy hotel that already has a lot of history of being haunted and whatnot. But I don't know. Let me know. You said no foul play, in my opinion, when folks don't have details, they come up with all types of conspiracies, says JL. Okay. 2 years later, this isn't a good argument. Doesn't look like she misunderstood the terms of the agreement. Okay. Why don't we do a poll? That's what I want to know. All right. I want to see what the people in my chat are saying. Let's do a really quick poll. All right. Do you believe? Now, I guess the question should be that Teresa Martin should be able to speak out after 2 years and a settlement. The answer is going to be yes. I'm going to say no. And I'm also going to put no because we know her cause of death, because I know some of you guys are going to say, like, no, this is what her cause of death was. No, because we know her cause of death, and that's that. Okay. I got to shorten the words. Too many letters. Yes, even if fam should speak. Okay, hold up, y'all. I'm trying to. I had to shorten the letters, y'all, because there's like a character limit. Go vote. Hit the like button, please, and thank you. You said yes. You said it's normal for a heavy crisis like this to take more than 2 years. So far, to have gathered yourself to take action. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Welcome everybody. I promise you, I'm going to shout you guys out here in a minute. You said, per my previous comment, I could see questioning later when you're not so deep in grief, realizing conditions to keep quiet and could be suspicious and predatory, says Kristen. Okay. So you're kind of in the fence. All right, let me see what you guys are saying in the poll real quick. And we have to hurry up and move on, y'all, because we got to move on to our next topic and we got to do a little reaction. Okay. Do you believe that Teresa Martin should be able to speak out after 2 years and a settlement? 58% is leading the poll. They say yes. 13% said no. 6% said no because we know her cause of death. 25% said yes, even if we know her cause of death, speak. Giving you guys some options, okay? Giving you guys some options, okay? Thank you. Okay, so let's get into this article real quick because we do have to move on. She says, I still don't know what happened to my child's life. Clothes, shoes, cell phone, hair, and the list goes on. I think she should have been given all of her items. I don't know why she wasn't. I think that is not okay. She should have been given her items the day that her body was collected. Like I would be asking for this. Of course, they're going to investigate for a criminal. Like once they figure out that they weren't going to charge anybody criminally, give me my items back. This is what she last wore. Okay? That's what I want to keep. She wrote in the explosive Facebook post on November 21st, I have been promised lies, as if once this case is over, I was forced to never talk about my child again. So this is the original post. She says, to whom it may concern, I still don't know what happened to my child's life, clothes, shoes, cell phones, hair, and the list goes on. However, I have been promised lies, as if once this case is over, I was forced to never talk about my child again. As you can see, over the years, I wasn't even as vocal as I am today. So after this post, I might get back in court, but I will be getting sued because I was tricked by they will get me answers. Give me her clothes and her hold up. And her what? Here it is. And her what? She says, give me her clothes. Give me her clothes and her cell phone and anything that belongs to her when she died. That was on her body. That was a lie. Once they finished the investigation, allegedly, people I trusted, they told me that somehow Kenneka got out of the back door. Never heard how which door could get out, but they never told me how or where. Allegedly, they never told the media. That's why I know the media will lie allegedly. Okay, so she says will lie allegedly. So I can invite any of you to go. I was in pain through my cancer battles. They forced us. They had us in rooms for hours and would not let us go until we said that what they wanted us to say. They made us accept what they wanted to give us. I'm literally living without my child and I'm raising above. And I'm raising above, staying strong. Excuse me, rising. I don't know why I saw an A. And I'm rising above and staying strong and holding on to hope, even without you. P.S. I was made to do a recorded video for hours after we were held during one of our child's birthday at the same time. I was sitting in a meeting about another child who wasn't even living. I had nothing to give my baby that day, but I knew a surprise was waiting once we left that meeting before the rain came hard. I've never stayed quiet long enough, but at this point, I'm simply speaking my truth respectfully, clearly, and without naming anyone. Now, let's make America great again. Oh, and try to tell someone with honor that they told me just go on my life. Just go on, live my life. I don't know why I'm like Sorry, y'all. It's very small print. Okay, I'm confused. When she says the PS, I was sitting in a meeting room about another child. So she told the other child that a surprise was coming, but I knew a surprise was coming, was waiting once we left that meeting. Was that money? Before the ring came hard. I'm so confused by this post. I don't like the way that's worded, but that's just me. Um, I'm struggling reading it because there's but also the print is very small, so I do apologize if I butchered that. I apologize. Um, you said there's no way you could find out you're tricked years later. You know what you can and can't do when you agree to a settlement. She felt tricked. She should have spoken years ago. I'm gonna put this post. I'm gonna screenshot this post and put it on my community wall, and y'all can tell me your opinions. Um, I could do a video where I look at both sides of this argument. As far as this goes, now Miss Teresa Martin does go further. I'm gonna see if I can. Hold up, trying to screenshot this while we're live. Okay, thank you. I love the screenshot option. Thank you, MacBook. Nobody should be silent. We'll talk about it more, okay? We'll talk about it more, y'all. But we do have to move on because we have to move on to Bruce Rivers. I want to give a reaction. Now, let me shout out some people. Dee Nebby, thank you so much for gifting me memberships. Guys, if you guys have been gifted, please put some hearts in the chat for our gifters. Thank you, my love. Nebby's been a member for 27 months. Oh my God, Nebby. I feel like it's been longer, Nebby. Shout out to my Nebby, y'all. Put some hearts for Nebby. Is a OG member. Getting there. Shout out to you, Nebby. Lupita Marin, thank you so much for becoming a member, my love. Flojo, $4.99. Thank you for the super sticker. Not Cindy, Shay, thank you for the $4.99, my love. Thank you. Thank you. Flojo, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Oh my God, no one should be silenced when they feel something is odd about a family member passing, says Last Ronan. I agree. Ronan. Now, here's the question that I have for everybody. If they're offering you 50 million, 10 million, is that enough money for you to be silent? I don't know if I wouldn't. Would I take a settlement? I probably would, but I wouldn't be silent. There would have to be a clause that says that I can talk about what happened to my daughter, that I can write books, that I could share with everybody, that whatever might come out of that, there should be a clause to that, and I would make sure of that. But I'm sure that the hotel and the people around and whoever was part of that made it so that it wasn't like that. I also think that there's a level of resignation that, she's still grieving, y'all. Like, that was her daughter. How do you put a time frame to grief? How do you not talk about your daughter? Okay, guys, I need you guys to drop some flowers for Come Get This Commentary, Kiva, one of my besties here, and also freaking 40 months. Now, we have OGs and then we have like OGs of memberships. So Come Get This Commentary takes the crown today. Thank you, Kiva, for supporting my channel for 40 months. My goodness, Kiva, thank you. By the way, Come Get This Commentary is also a content creator. Make sure you guys check her out on YouTube. Amazing content. Thank you so much, Kiva, for supporting my channel for so long and for also being my friend offline. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That's the real OG of the channel. That's like when I started the first year. Okay, that's the OG of the channel right there. Sorry that she takes that crown today. Okay, guys, welcome. All right. So let's move on. We got to talk about Mr. Bruce Rivers. Two videos. I don't know if you guys saw what Khadisha Lynn dropped, but I want to talk about Bruce Rivers, but I also want to talk about Khadisha Lynn. Let me show you. I think we have time for both. Real quick, this is an interesting drop. Okay. Khadisha Lynn dropped a very interesting video today. She deserves the flowers for sure. On the car situation, there's footage, right? Let's get into this.
Different media outlets are covering that their LAPD sources are telling them that they believe that Celeste passed away in the spring of 2025. And I found some relevant information that might point to that actually being true.
Even though for me, it's like, I do wonder whether she actually did pass in the spring and not before. It's speculation that I have. I don't think that I'm accurate. I am a person on the internet. I am not law enforcement. Okay, I do have a master's degree in social work. I worked in government for 10 years, but I use that to kind of just guide my experience in certain things. But that's what I've speculated. Nothing like you know, true crime with strategic eyes, who's actual law enforcement and or even Duty Ron or all these people. But let's get into this.
You know, David's Tesla was first ticketed on August 27th of 2025 for being in the same spot for over 72 hours, and his car was on 1406 Bluebird Avenue. As you can see, it's still a pretty good distance. It makes no sense why he would park his car all the way on Bluebird Avenue, because here is David's house, and up here is where his car was parked out front of. Eventually, it ended up being towed because he didn't move it on September 8th. Report of David's Tesla being towed, they took these photos that are included in the report that we got from the PI, Steve Fisher. But we also know, according to Steve Fisher, the last time this car was parked on Bluebird Avenue was July 29th, and then David left on tour. They also have the LAPD telling different news sources like the Los Angeles Times the same thing, that somebody parked this car in the end of July for the very last time on Bluebird Avenue. This was not the only time that David's Tesla sat in the same exact spot. And a YouTuber that records going down all of the streets in LA stumbled across David's Tesla.
Now, let me tell you guys something. I have to kind of wonder this. Y'all remember that one report? We don't talk about it enough because we don't know if it's actually factual. But I'm just gonna put this out here. Y'all remember that one report of it was said that neighbors were smelling something, but they couldn't determine what that smell was and whatnot. They were trying to figure out what that smell was exactly, right? You guys remember that? What happened to that neighbor? What happened to that interview? Or what happened to that? People were giving commentary about that. And honestly, I can't, if anybody finds Flojo, if you, I'm sure that you've probably messaged me on this, but if you stumble upon that video, I think there was an interview. I want to say it was News Nation or anybody. Y'all remember when they said that there was an interview that somebody did about a neighbor who said that they were smelling something near where this Tesla was parked? Yeah, like there was like a dead animal around. Okay, here's for those that have been, okay, if you have been following, BJ even says yes. I'm like, I know I'm not making, sometimes my mic, my mind will make things up sometimes. Wait, do you remember, BJ, who, was it an interview or was it a news reporting or was it speculation? What was it? I can't remember. You said I reacted to it and showed it on the live stream. Was it Khadijah who did the video? Who was it that did the video? I can't remember. It was a woman on that interview. It was on News Nation. All right, so I'm on the hunt to find that video. News Nation with the neighbor. It was an interview. Okay, let me keep playing this because I don't think that the person, if this is accurate, even if what Kadisha Lynn is saying here is accurate and was able to paint this, I don't think she's off. I don't think she's off.
In this same exact spot that it was towed from on Bluebird Avenue on May 14th of 2025. Mind you, that spring. But just wait because it gets worse. There's this Tesla. I have it on slow-mo. This is Bluebird. Here's the stop sign where it says Bluebird Avenue. We know when David's Tesla was parked for the very last time, according to the PI, on July 29th of 2025. Right after this, David left out on tour. He first headed to San Francisco. And when this YouTuber, unbeknown to them, caught a recording of David's Tesla on May 14th, guess where David was? he was out of the country on tour. We have two different instances where this Tesla is being parked on.
Now, Flojo, it's okay if we don't know. Sent the new. You just send it. No worries, because I can just pull the script and find out exactly. We won't be searching for a timestamp. If you found the link, that would be amazing. Hold up, let's get into this. Okay, I want to proceed. Hold up. Sorry, my camera's like in the way of my screen, so I can't really see when I'm stopping. All right, I think let me keep playing this, and then I'm gonna find the timestamp.
Bluebird Avenue and obviously left while he goes on tour. The day before the YouTuber caught the Tesla sitting on Bluebird Avenue in May, David was performing on May 13th in Malaysia. And from Malaysia on May 16th, he would then go to the Philippines. And a couple days later, David would go to South Korea. And then on May 25th, he was then in Tokyo, Japan for the Anime Awards. Mind you, I find this very sketchy that he was also doing the same thing with this car all the way back in May. Because a year ago, when you search David's home that he stayed at in LA, he was parking his Tesla right out front. It's still on Google Maps. Now we know there are two consecutive times of him parking that Tesla all the way up here from his house before he would go on tour. The second time of the May time frame is starting to correlate with what the LAPD sources are telling the media. This goes with multiple conflicting reports that we were receiving at the beginning of all of this from neighbors. Some neighbors reported that the Tesla was moved several times over the past 3 months before it was found at its final parking spot on Bluebird Avenue in the Hollywood Hills. But other neighbors' accounts suggested that the car had been in the final spot for a month or an extended period of time before being reported abandoned. Both of these accounts would make absolute sense now. Because the PI, Steve...
Guys, so that video, Flojo, that's not it. That's not it. That's the interviews with the neighbors in her neighborhood. There was a neighbor, I remember correctly, said a former neighbor of the family. There was a neighbor, it was D4VD's neighbor, who essentially they said that they were smelling like a foul smell in that area. And then for whatever reason, we started questioning, well, can you really smell it in that area? I mean, it's an open door type of situation. So I don't know. You said his house is now blocked blur out of the Google Maps. That's interesting. They can make that happen. So there was an interview. I can't remember if somebody gave commentary or if it was an actual interview of a neighbor who said something to the effect of the smell, that it smelled in that area where the car was parked. That is not the video, though. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go back. I can't even remember what exactly. There's been just so many videos, so I'll have to go back and look at it. But there was a neighbor that said that or something like that. Was it SF Investigates? Yeah, you can't miss that odor, right? But they were talking about it smelled, right? You know, Ken the Kid, it sounds like he had a lot of Instagram accounts. That's what it sounds like. It's just so hard. And some of which you kind of have to wonder, was it really? I don't know, man.
Fisher said the last person that moved this Tesla parked this Tesla on Bluebird Avenue on July 29th, and the LAPD also confirmed that the Tesla was parked at the very end of July for the very last time. This is why some neighbors were saying it was in the same spot for a month, because it was. Then the car again was...
It was in the same spot for a month because it was. Look at this.
Spotted on May 14th of 2025, which would make the other neighbors' reportings that the Tesla was moving around and it was also in this spot for 3 months correct also. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
That's a pretty interesting video. Shout out to Kadisha Lynn. I think that she did a fantastic job breaking that down. If you have not watched it, please go watch it. Literally. Clearly there's footage of this video out there. Yeah, I know we've talked about it, and we dismiss that whole theory and everything. If y'all found it, hit me up in the email, okay? We dismiss that whole theory about it. But let me know. Hold up. Thank you on the Kenneka Jenkins email. I got it. I'll probably do a different video on it because I know some of y'all really want me to get into that. And I mean, again, that's that case that kind of divides everybody, and I think it lends itself for a good conversation. This is the email for those that are asking in the chat. Okay, thank you, Taylor, with stitching, bitching. Thank you, love, for being a member for 4 months. Hey, y'all, it's been a longer. LOL. Shout out to you, my love. Thank you for being a member for so long and supporting my channel. James, thank you so much for this. Now, listen, y'all, my birthday is on the 4th. Okay. We will be having a birthday stream. Please note that. Thank you. It is once the first hits, it's the birthday month. Okay. All right, guys, I'm putting that in your radar. If you see, it might have been SF who said something. I can agree with that because I think it was in an interview that there was a neighbor. I can't remember if it was a neighbor that spoke out or if it was SF or if it was somebody else that put that out there that somebody was reporting a foul odor in that area. Y'all, if you find it, hit me up in the email. I'm going to do a shorter video because if that is the case, I mean, then that just coincides with the law. Maybe she died. Sounds like the LAPD might be accurate in terms of, oh God, of course they're the professionals. Now, of course, do I still have a disdain and do I have a lot of what's the word? Do I have a lot of dislike for the LAPD? Yes, I do. I think that they're very corrupt. Yes, I do. However, I also believe that when people do their job, you got to give them their flowers when they do their job. Okay. Now, I like CLR Bruce Rivers. I don't know if you guys know him. He's like a lawyer here. Digs into cases and whatnot, gives his commentary. He's kind of funny in certain cases. He's actually a criminal lawyer, right? And he gave some commentary about the whole freezing situation. Yesterday, I did a video on Sloan's, just a reaction video on Sloan's video. Some of you guys are like on the fence about that theory. So am I. I'm gonna be honest with you. So am I. I'm still on the fence on that theory about the whole dismemberment thing. Hold up, y'all. Because I don't know. I just am. I'm just a little skeptical, but I like Sloan, so I guess if he has a source and he says he has a source, then I can believe that he has a source for sure. All right, let's get into this. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit so you guys can watch the majority of it without my commentary at the CLR criminal lawyer reacts Bruce Rivers.
Was found in a trunk of a car owned by the rapper David. How do you spell his name? Or singer. D4VDS, David. I don't know why they put the 4 in there. I'm sure that's got some significance and I don't give a shit. But David.
That's that young generation. I'm sure there's a reason why you have a 4. Okay. I'm sure there's a reason why your name's, whatever, like that. That's hilarious. I like that. Thank you so much. And then I rock for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah. He's like, I don't know what this, but I'm sure it's got significance. Whatever. Move on.
It was on tour and somehow his car was left outside on the street corner and then it was towed away and then it sat there for days and the owner of the lot said, hey, this car fucking stinks, smells like a dead body might be in there. Remember when Casey Anthony,
there's something wrong, I found my daughter's car today, and
he said the owner of the lot. For whatever reason I thought he said that it was the neighbor, but he said the owner of the lot. Okay, I almost freaked out.
Sounds like there's been a dead body in the car.
I mean, that's how that whole investigation started because mom opened the trunk and said, this smells like a dead body's been in here. Well, that's what happened with David's car. He had a Tesla and so they opened it and all of a sudden they found this Celeste Rivas. Now remember, he had been dating for some time and she was underage. So we have all kinds of issues for David. So there's been some rumor and innuendo.
He just called him Davin.
New details have been revealed in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the teen's whose body was found dismembered in a Tesla, which turns out not to be true. Sources close to the investigation now allege that David is in fact a suspect and as an unidentified second suspect. TMZ's Harvey Levine, I'm not going to even say his name. I fucking don't like that guy at all. Some people were pushing rumor mills like that the body was beheaded.
Wait. He said I effing what? What did he say about that guy? Hold up, y'all.
David is in fact a suspect and as an unidentified second suspect. TMZ's Harvey Levine, I'm not going to even say his name. I fucking don't like that guy at all.
He doesn't like him. I don't even fucking like that guy at all. I mean, if he's gonna call him Davin, you might as well call him Damien and something. Like, I'm like, damn, it's like that. Oh my god. Thank you, Bright Eye party contribution. Thank you for the $4.99, my love. Thank you. He's okay. Let's keep going, y'all.
Some people were pushing rumor mills like that the body was beheaded and that it was frozen and all this BS. And and this is what I don't like about information that's reported but unconfirmed. So TMZ supposedly reported that the medical examiner may not be able to determine cause of death because Rivas' Hernandez body was found in a frozen state. That's ridiculous. I don't know who they talked to, but sources told the entertainment news outlet that the body was allegedly decapitated. The limbs had been removed and cut into pieces, and none of this shit turns out to be true. TMZ reported that David has been viewed as a suspect in the case, blah, blah, blah. However, a recent report from People alleged that David has not been cooperative from the beginning. In the early October, the singer had hired Blair Burke, which I've spoken to her once, a top Hollywood criminal defense attorney amid the investigation. While he reportedly has been viewed as a suspect, no arrests have been made. Why haven't they picked him up? Well, here's why. I mean, why did it take so long to I really liken this to the Casey Anthony case. There's no eyewitness, for starters. Oh. So any case that they're going to build, it has to be built on forensic and circumstantial evidence.
We don't know if there's footage though, right? We have assumed that certain footage, the Tesla stopped working, yada, 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 all this footage, right? We don't know. Okay.
You know what circumstantial evidence is, right? Should we tell you the blueberry pie story? I'll tell you the blueberry pie story. So, okay,
let me move on from the blueberry pie story. He literally talks about the blueberry pie for a good 5 minutes. Okay, security hold. There we go. Now we get back to topic. Give me the lawyer review, Bruce.
There's a security hold placed on the medical examiner's case file. The case details for Rivas Hernandez has been removed from the medical examiner's website, which the TMZ Harvey Levine said is likely due to the security hold. This was later determined by officials who said on Friday, November 21st, that LA medical examiner received a court order from Los Angeles Police Department to place a security hold on the case. That's because there's rumors are getting out there. Everybody wants the first to break the story, right? TMZ is a classic example of that. So the no more records or details are going to be let out until further notice, and they have to do that to protect the integrity of the investigation. So here's what's important. LAPD captain reveals what cops saw when Celeste Rivas Hernandez was.
Thank you, Flojo. Shout out to Flojo, y'all. Drop some hearts in the chat for Flojo. Flojo the GOAT found it. Okay, Flojo, you're gonna have to change your name to Flojo the GOAT. Look, it wasn't SF Investigates. It wasn't News Nation. It was ABC7. And I went through the script, okay? Look at this. We're going to start right over here real quick. Sorry, detour from Bruce real quick.
This Tesla arrived at a Hollywood tow yard Monday morning. Workers say the car was emitting a foul smell, and it wasn't long before the decomposing body of a woman was discovered in the front trunk. It was the same smell these residents and their dogs have been smelling for more than a week now.
He took a very big interest in sniffing all of it. I'm just remembering something. I mean, this is going to sound horrible. So we would walk by the hedges and I'm like, the hedges always smell like something decomposing. And there's a lot of rats around in here, but there was always a smell. There was always a smell.
This man, who lives about 50 yards from where the car was parked, didn't smell anything, but says he did notice something seemed off.
The only thing out was an out of a state license plate, and it was banged up and kept moving from one place to other place within a couple of blocks from here.
The car, which has Texas plates, is registered to the singer David, who is from Texas. David, whose full name is David Anthony Burke, has 33 million monthly listeners on Spotify and 3.6 million followers on TikTok. He's currently in the midst of a world tour performing tonight in Minneapolis. So far, there's been no comment from
this is literally
the singer, but incidentally, a second
hold up. This is literally just to give you guys time frame, September 10th. So this is around the time when the news, I mean, it had already broken, right? She was found on the 8th, but this is where people were already starting to speculate and whatnot. There were neighbors earlier on, more than one neighbor. And that dog looks like a bloodhound, I don't know, or some kind of a dog that could smell something off in that area that was already smelling something.
Body was found in another impounded car today, this time in a burned out vehicle in South LA. This one is not believed to be connected to the Tesla. Police in the coroner's office are now working to determine who the victims are in both cases. In the WeHo case, Eyewitness News has learned the woman was small in stature, weighing less than 100 pounds, and had a tattoo on her right index finger reading SHHH.
Puzzled, very surprised that hopefully they could find out what happened.
All right. This is the video, y'all. Make sure, because I think that we were talking to her like, well, wasn't there neighbors? And SF, I believe, had interviewed some of the neighbors. So they had the same narrative. They had the same kind of narrative about that smell. So now you remember this. We remember this, right? Because I was thinking, I was like, and BJ remembers it. Was it News Nation? What was it? It was ABC 7. Okay. ABC 7. And these might have been the neighbors that were interviewed by SF Investigates. Very likely that's what it was. So it wasn't just a tow lot. It was neighbors in the area that were smelling something decomposing. Okay. Now, what kind of a dog is that? Somebody said it was a specific breed. I don't know why I called it a bloodhound. It looks like a bloodhound, but it's not. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. What is that? It's not a bloodhound. Bloodhounds have longer ears, right? Cute dog. Okay. But apparently he was smelling it. Yes, I'm definitely going to. Is it is that how you say that? Visla? Listen, I have a miniature poodle. That's what I have. My miniature poodle, Visala? Anyways, let me stop. So apparently this dog was smelling all this. So that's an interesting clip, and clearly it's relevant now that we're talking about this situation with the smell and whatnot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much, FloJo. Thank you. Let me keep playing this. Criminal lawyer reacts to the news.
Hernandez was found dead in David's trunk. She wasn't frozen.
Bisla.
How irresponsible. She's in LA, and she was in the trunk for days. There's no way she could be frozen. So she was 14 when she was killed and was subsequently discovered dead inside the trunk of a Tesla. LAPD captain and commanding officer of Robbery and Homicide Division, Scott Williams, tells People magazine exclusively that Rivas Hernandez was not decapitated and her body parts were not frozen. Celeste's body was not frozen, Williams said. She was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Come on, Harvey. You're smarter than that. You like that I did that thing? I almost feel like Trump all of a sudden. What the hell? Even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the trunk, which there's no evidence to suggest that she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car in a sweltering heat in the midsummer would not have resulted in a frozen body. I mean, I don't think you have to be a scientist to figure that shit out. But they did name another suspect. I don't think we're any further along down the road on this case than when we first started, because they're not releasing any information. So TMZ is kind of releasing what they believe to be credible information, but it's unconfirmed and turns out not to be true. I mean, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist. If she's in that car for 5 weeks, she's not going to be frozen.
Yo, did you guys notice the merch? Stop self-snitching. Bruce, you better not be D4VD's lawyer, because I'm going to be mad. You better not.
And so somebody's out there trying to give some misinformation. Who it is, we don't know. And supposedly they've named a second suspect. We're not going to say who it is because we haven't confirmed it, and I'm not going to be part of the rumor mill. But what we don't.
Okay, so TMZ said that they've named him, right? And it sounds like that. We have yet to see an actual document or paper. Did the LAPD directly confirm that he is a suspect? I think it did, either in People or LA Times. But we're going about this, and we have yet to see a charging document. And that's important, right? That's the important part. Maybe that is the next step. But what I can say, y'all, so I saw something I can't say who said who my source is or anything like that, but all this grand jury stuff is very real. Okay. All this grand jury stuff is very real. It's a very real thing. And I'm looking straight at the camera because I'm telling y'all, okay, that I have first-hand accounts. I know a document that I saw. It's very, very real. It's a real thing. So just so people are aware, this is not a joke. There is a grand jury. This is why I'm adamant, and I believe that, in my opinion, I could be wrong, right? Because I'm not, it's the holidays and stuff like that. But I have a very good feeling that we're going to hear about a possible charging arrest before the end of the year. That is my hope. But I have seen something that has confirmed that this is a very real thing in terms of the grand jury.
Know is that he was dating her and he had some dark shit on his mind. If you'll look at our other video, we kind of go through some of that stuff. So she's 14, he's 20 years old. First of all, if there's a sexual relationship there, a 14-year-old cannot consent to sex. Period. Hard stop. A mistake of age is never.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
I love that he said this, because you have people in my comments that talk about, well, maybe she lied about her age, or maybe she didn't know. Maybe, how can it be? Y'all remember that one comment from that one person? How can it be grooming when they were both in love, or some stuff like that was said? I was like, I almost lost my shit, and I kept it cool. And then there was somebody in my comment who said something to the effect of, well, he didn't really know her age, so it's very likely that, she tricked him or some stuff like that. Straight from a criminal attorney. A mistaken identity, a mistaken age is never a defense. Ignorance of the law does not necessarily keep you from being held accountable. Ignorance from the law does not keep you from being held accountable. If I'm driving and I say, well, I think I can run this red light because I'm not really seeing it, but oh well, maybe I just forgot what a red light means. I could still be held accountable for running the red light, right?
And so he is even if he's not named, he's an unnamed suspect. And supposedly there's a second person. And guess what? If you help somebody after the fact, you're guilty of a crime too. You're guilty of aiding an offender after the fact. They are using the information that they collect in the trunk of the car, any device that she may have had, like cell phone. They're going to try to reconstruct her whereabouts, where she was, who she was with.
Yep.
And they're talking to people, and trying to piece this all together. Why would you leave your car on the side of the road? And David, I would venture to guess that he's not cooperating with law enforcement. I know initially it was reported that he was. I don't know if he is or not, but I would doubt, if I was his lawyers, I would say, and I had anything to worry about.
This verbiage of not cooperating, and I need to talk to somebody in law enforcement about this a little bit more. So my understanding is that you can have an attorney and have them speak directly to your attorney. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not cooperating. You're just not talking to them directly. Your attorney is, right? That's what I understood. But apparently, once you hire a lawyer and you basically have your lawyer talking, it also could be considered as not cooperating. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this, because I do wonder, and of course, every jurisdiction, every county, every state is a little bit different. But I wonder about this specifically thing, because initially we were told that he's cooperating. Well, who told everybody that? Was it his lawyer that told TMZ, hey, he's cooperating, he's good? Or was it the LAPD that said that he's cooperating? Where did the cooperation come from? Because then we hard stopped that narrative, and then it was like, he's not cooperating.
If you could exonerate him right away, you would. Hey, look, we were in Detroit when this happened. Okay, fair enough. You weren't even anywhere near there. That didn't happen here. You don't cooperate under those circumstances because he has some criminal liability or is exposed to it. So here's the other thing that I don't know if everybody knows about Teslas. And I have a case right now where it's actually probably going to exonerate my client. If you're on the interior, it records what's going on interior. I don't think there's any audio, but there's a thumb drive.
Assuming that it recorded. Now, what if it did? What did Steve Fisher say? He said he knows the last person who drove that car, right? I highly doubt that the last person who drove that car does not know that Celeste was there in that car, in my opinion. I think that the last person who drove that car, in my opinion, complete speculation, is somebody who was well aware that, there was a body in that car. They didn't report this car stolen. It wasn't like that, y'all. Okay. How long had they been driving that car with her body in there? That is the question. And why would you think that somehow you'd go on tour and come back and the body and people weren't gonna, especially in an area where you've already been ticketed multiple times, your registration is expired, and somehow you thought that this car was not going to be impounded? Does any of that shit make sense?
You can remove and figure out what's going on with that Tesla. That's number one. Number two, where you are, where you go, and the movements and all the data that the Tesla collects is vast. So they're going to go through that. The police recently, as confirmed by People magazine, have identified David as an actual suspect. And I think that happened last week. I think when you get into the stratosphere of money and fame and, your bubble, like Elvis was in a bubble. That's why he died on the fucking toilet, after just doing drugs after drugs after drugs. Michael Jackson was in a bubble. Who takes propofol on a regular basis to fall asleep? Granted, I've experienced that through a colonoscopy, but that's every 5 years.
Oh my God. All right. TMI. Moving forward. TMI. I don't want to know about his every 5-year colonoscopy, yo. I can't. It's too much. Not to mention the bad smell. They were all aware, right? They were well aware about what was going on. Most people do not know this about Teslas. Almost modern vehicles record with the front-facing camera hidden behind the rear view mirror and also collects your travel info. Thank you, Survived by the Kool-Aid. Shout out to you, Survived by the Kool-Aid. Hope you're doing well. I don't want to know about your buns. I really, Bruce, even though that's my alter ego name, y'all know that. But Bruce is doing too much here.
Off now, you take off knowing you're a suspect, and it's setting the stage for the next stage. My guess is that within the next 30 to 60 days, we're going to probably see some kind of movement, and see that an indictment might come within about 30 to 60 days. Just awful. Because there's other things that are involved too. You got a 14-year-old with a 20-year-old. They didn't just start dating. He had been with her for a while, is my understanding. God, just imagine being the fucking parents, and just imagine, and the more you hold on to your kid, the more they say, fuck you, and want to take off and do their own thing. That's why, you got to get your kid into sports, into academics, into, networks of folks, so that no one person can just have this hold on your child. Because if anybody should have the hold on your child, you should. Jesus. So we'll continue. And this is just kind of a quick update on the David situation.
I recommend a lot of sports. I recommend a lot. My middle child, I think something tells me that my middle child is going to be playing football. Okay. So that's interesting. He loves football. I don't.
Spelling the myths that some people out there like to spin those yarns. And so we're just going to keep an eye on this. But remember, she was under 14 when they met, like, I don't know how, like 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they had this weird relationship. He had this dark stuff that he was talking about. She's found dead in his Tesla. Yeah. They think she was in there for 5 weeks, and then it was towed off of the side of the road. There's some questions that, you have to scratch your head and say, why?
Yes.
And if there wasn't anything up to it, weren't you in constant contact with her? Or did you have this death fascination that you just had to see what it's like to kill somebody, or you just had this death fascination with her, or whatever this darkness has just got to get explored. So my guess is we'll see something within the next 30 to 60 days, and we'll follow it. And maybe it'll be a big, huge trial. Who knows? But David,
I wonder.
The dragnet is circling around you, and it's going to snap you up, is my guess. But it is California, right? So who knows what the fuck happens in California? They're the ones that acquitted OJ. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Reacts. Just a quick update on David. Make sure you subscribe.
Check him out, guys. If you are not familiar with him, again, his name is CLR Bruce Rivers. He's done some pretty interesting commentary on various cases. Yes, I know that he is preventing colon cancer. Shout out to you. I just don't want to hear about his bonbons. I'm good, but shout out. He just does so much. Y'all, important. get checked every 5 years. For those, of a certain age, y'all be checking yourselves even before that, because you never know. You never know. It's important to prevent colon cancer. I definitely agree with that. I just don't want to know about it, y'all. I just don't want to know about it. I don't want to know about it. I want to talk about why, and I feel like, again, people haven't really been talking about this, y'all, but you do realize that the person, okay, top-notch DA, okay, she's the one moving forward with this grand jury. And I think, I was thinking about this. I was like, well, okay, so depending on what that recommendation is from the grand jury, totally depends, right? I feel like this is, and I'll speak for myself because I was definitely the one that had a huge reaction about this. But when I saw her name and then I started talking to some people and I started doing a little bit more digging to this DA, she is again, deputy, this is the original article, LA Times, Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman. Okay. She's on it. And I honestly think that it's a very telling about how they see that case if they have Beth Silverman on that case. I think it's very telling about what direction they plan to go to. I think it's very telling in so many ways. Okay. So, yeah, that's what I got to say. You said David and Celeste were into My Little Pony. Okay. Where's the evidence of the romantic relationship other than a friendship? Those pictures that I've seen don't give a relationship. Where's the evidence? I think a lot of it isn't necessarily evidentiary. I think a lot of it is speculation based on what's been put out there on pictures. You have two things that you have. Okay. I'll tell you. When TMZ called mom or whatever it was, and mom said to TMZ, she had a boyfriend named David. Boyfriend, okay? Not friend, boyfriend. Then you have the brother who also points him to being like the last person that was with her. Doesn't necessarily establish a relationship, right? There's pictures, there's them streaming. You could say a friendship, right? But there's a lot that would lead, at least it's been put out there, why it's a bit off. Okay. A 20-year-old interested in a 13, 14-year-old girl. Don't know why. Highly call that a friendship. I don't want to I have children. If I find out that my, young child, 13, 14-year-old is friends with a 20-year-old, whatever that is, they stream together, they hang out together. No. There's a huge gap in between that. I think that there's a lot to say about that. Now, again, I'm not the judge. I'm not the prosecutor. I can't deem. I don't know what the grand jury is looking like to determine what is evidence and what isn't, right? We don't know. We don't know. So I think it's important to often understand that what's been put out there, how you assess that. I can't call that evidence, but in my opinion, it's speculation, and it definitely seems like there was more to that. Y'all have to remember that the label oftentimes controls the creativity of the artist. Okay, let's be clear how we assess this case. So what is the label? So did the label, are you saying that the label was the one that put her in the trunk of the car? What are you saying with this? Like, that's what we're getting at. Like, what does that even mean? Did the label put her in the trunk of the car? Ultimately, that's what we want. You said, yes, he was. Look at Celeste's old pictures, talking to him, FaceTime. There's a lot. There's a lot out there, but you have to figure out what you want to look at. Again, I'm not the judge or the jury. I'm literally a person on the internet giving commentary. And I think that's an important comment, right? Like, how are you assessing this situation? But to me, is that clearly he knew, it looks to me that he knew that she was a runaway. There's messages between them where it talks about, don't worry about your mom. I got her. I'll handle her. No. Okay. No. That's how I see that. I don't remember hearing any follow-up about the second apartment allegedly seen in this video with Celeste. Was that ever looked at? I do wonder about that. I don't know what to make of that situation in terms of a second apartment. You said it's very telling that he had a car parked on the Bluebird whenever he was on tour. He wanted it to be found. Who wanted it to be found? Did he wanted it to be found, or was it somebody else that wanted it to be found? He had to have known that at some point somebody was going to find this car, y'all. That's how I see it. Yes, it's all speculation under the circumstances because Celeste is no longer with us. References to her statements will be dismissed as hearsay. We need something else, unless they can do like the actual pull to those live streams, right? That's what I'm thinking. Wherever they were live streaming from, y'all remember that one photo that live stream when they were together? If they can pull that, then they can determine kind of where's this reference being made from? What does this look like? What's actually happening here? I think anything is possible. But to me, I'm not part of that. I don't know. Anything is possible. I'm not the judge or jury either way, but based on what we've heard and seen, I'm certain that he is quite sick. Yeah. Into something different, that's for sure. Look, where I get at is right now we have a DA. Like I said, if y'all don't know who this DA is, you need to do your homework on her. She was the one that convicted that serial killer, the grim sleeper. I think that they wouldn't have taken this as far as they have to the grand jury if they felt like they had nothing. I do feel like in this case, the LAPD does seem like they are moving, and they are moving the way that they need to move. Now, of course, it's not going to be how we want them to move because we want the information right away and everything. But I'm happy to see that there's a proactive approach. And part of it could be because they don't want misinformation, so that, if this man does have to defend himself, because everybody deserves a defense, whether you believe it or not, he has not been formally charged that we know of, then I think it's best to just clear everything. I would rather have a lot of evidence and information that is substantiated by things that make sense versus a lot of speculation, even though like my ADHD mind goes there all the time, y'all. And I think that a lot of us feel very passionate about this case because it's very easy for us to go there. We want justice for Celeste, right? We do. Now, as far as sources, everybody's got a different, I don't know. Y'all make of it what you will. And you determine how that sits with you. That's kind of where I stand on. The fact that any of us knew who David was before this 33 million people follow him is crazy. I don't know why he would be so dumb. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know who D4VD was until this case, right? That's why we want an accurate defense. And I know somebody said in my comments, why, I just want him under the jail. Yes. Ideally, that's what we want. But what we want is to make sure that there is a level that this man is going to have, if this is where it goes, he's going to need representation, right? I don't want to go on a case based on conspiracy so that, 6 months later, he's able to appeal on a fucking technicality. We don't want that, y'all. We don't want that. Why would we want that? No. So that the conviction, when it comes, there's nothing. It is what it is. If he is found guilty, that's what we want. And I know that I'm not the only one who's saying that, but, of course, I think a lot of us feel very passionate about this case, right? M7 Triple, thank you so much for the 20. He says, thank you, Rabbit. On the days I feel like I can't anymore, I tune in and show me that I am. Thank you. Aw, M7666, yo. Shout out to you. That really makes me feel good. Thank you so much, love. You are amazing. Thank you, love, for supporting the channel. And don't ever feel like you can. Okay? All right? That's just a word, right? You pick up yourself and you do what you got to do and pull it together, girl. Pull it together. In the holiday seasons, people tend to get a level of depression. I know I do. I don't want to do anything. I want to go to bed. I want to sleep in. I do struggle with seasonal depression every once in a while, and it hits me when I don't even expect it. Take care of yourselves. Do what makes you feel good. Take a walk. If you can't take a walk, do something that makes you feel good about yourself, okay? Thank you, my love. David, 3 others are going to be indicted. I have a feeling it's going to be speculation, at least 4. I don't know what it is, but something is telling me that that's what it is. If he was poor and unknown, he would have definitely been questioned by now. That's definitely fucked up. Well, here's the thing, herbs and potions. I would agree to a certain aspect. Let me tell you guys something, and I've repeated this before. I'm going to say it again. They were driving with this body, okay, with Celeste's body. they almost got away with, if they would have gotten rid of her body, they probably would have gotten away with this. Y'all realize that, right? They weren't very smart, okay? One of the things that still sits with me, even now that I'm talking about Celeste and everything, y'all, one of the things that still sits with me, you know, I worked in government for 10 plus years. I worked with a lot of youth. I worked with a lot of runaways. I could tell you so many stories, y'all. I used to, like, literally so many stories. There's a lot of youth out there with missing person posters, missing children posters, and they're no longer walking around anymore. They're not here, but they're still missing. These are the youth. The chronic runaways are the ones that are easily targeted with crimes, trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, all kinds of trafficking, y'all. It's the perfect murder because people tend to forget about them. It's a missing person. They went out. They did just this. People could have gotten away with this. Okay. So to a certain degree, even though as tragic as the situation is, I'm glad that she was found. I'm glad that she's been identified, and I'm glad that she was found, because I'm telling you, there's many out there with a missing poster. You go to your Walmart. I see this all the time, or whatever store, okay? And there's usually a poster of missing. I'm going to tell you something that's very scary. A lot of those names up there are children that are no longer on this earth, that have been hidden, victimized, trafficked. You're never going to see them again. That, unfortunately, is a fact. Okay? Unfortunately, that's how it is. So I never, when I worked in government and I learned what I had to learn, I never look at a missing person poster the same way again after that, because that is a fact. So I'm happy that she was found. I hate the circumstances that she was found in, but I'm happy that she was found. Now where we're at is, whatever is going to happen, let's move forward, okay? Because Celeste is one of many kids out there. I promise you that. I promise you that. I promise you that. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't care about your kids. They use them. Yeah, you're right. I worked in youth homelessness prevention. It's true. It's true. You'll never, once you understand that some of those kids are no longer here and they haven't been seen anymore. Their poster sits there year after year after year, labeled as missing. People holding hope that they're going to come back. They don't. They don't. It's too many of them, and not enough sources, news stories out there that are actually covering them. Okay. So I'm glad that she was found. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I felt that in my soul, because I'm telling y'all, like, when, maybe one day I'll do a video where I tell you a little bit more about, like, the job that I used to do and the different things that I used to do. My career, and, you know, I'm no longer working in government, but I'll definitely tell you guys a little bit about the dependency and neglect system for anybody that's struggling. You know, I always get, like, messages from people that want me to, I can't directly help anybody because, you know, I'm very careful about, I don't want to get involved in stuff like that. But I could definitely, if I could tell you stories, man, I could tell you stories. I definitely could tell you a lot of cases, but without really using names and stuff like that. I want to give time to a lot of that. All right, guys. Well, again, I have a lot of faith and hope. Beth Silverman, I have a lot of faith and hope in prosecutor Beth Silverman. I do. So I'm holding on to that. You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments. I have to go because I got to go tend to baby bunny. I really want to thank everybody that contributed to the stream. Thank you so much. Y'all are amazing. You know, I can't do this without you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to be working on some videos. I promise y'all I will do a Ryan Up Church video at some point. I did have to block the other person because, like, you're doing too much in my chat. You know, maybe you need a break. So I got to do what I got to do. Y'all let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next one. I'll probably be live later. Okay. I'll be live later, and I got to pre-record it. Make sure you go watch my recent Selena reaction video. It's a good one. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys. Thank you, guys. Bye.